What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. All right, moving on to Lakers-Mavs. So I thought the Mavs did an excellent job in this game of making the Lakers pay for their game plan. So one of the things the Lakers did in the first half of this game is they were showing applying basically blitzing, like a soft blitz, on Luka Doncic to get the ball out of his hands. And the Lakers were bringing that low man over to tag the roller, wide open shooters on the weak side. That was where you were seeing guys like Dante Exum and Grant Williams get wide open threes. But then later in the game, the Lakers went bigger. They brought Rui Hachimura into the lineup and they started switching everything. And the Lakers actually had some success in that stretch where they were forcing Luka into really tough shots and long ISOs, meaning like he's ISOing from 26, 27 feet from the basket, and the Lakers were able to kind of help and rotate out of it, force him into tough shots, and it was working. Well, one of the things they did, and I'm not sure if it was Jason Kidd's adjustment or if it was Luka Doncic's adjustment, but what they started doing is having Luka run his ISOs, get the switch, and then basically give him the ball on the elbow. And so just to kind of draw out the geometry of it for you, imagine Luka on the right elbow with, somebody on him, whether it's Rui Hachimura, whether it's Austin Reeves, whoever it might be, right? And then what they did is they took Derek Lively and they moved him a few steps outside the dunker spot. So not really right in that dunker spot right outside the block, but a few steps outside. Why does that matter? Because if Derek Lively is standing right outside the block, like on the dunker spot area, then Anthony Davis can sit right under the basket and help without getting a defensive 3 seconds because he's technically guarding Derek Lively. As soon as Derek Lively took those extra few steps further out towards the corner, now Anthony Davis is in a bind because he has two options at that point. He can either step all the way outside that outside block and kind of step in and out to try to avoid a defensive 3 seconds call where Luka could easily just wait for him while he's taking that step out and then drive by. Or Anthony Davis would have to full zone up, meaning ignore Derek Lively and go to the opposite end of the block and basically wait for the drive there. Here's the problem with that. You now have a 2-on-1 on the weak side with a shooter in the corner and Derek Lively in the dunker spot. And if the guy guarding the shooter in the corner wants to get in front of Derek Lively and box him out to prevent the lob, it's a skip pass to a wide open shooter every single time. If that guy's not there and he's on the backside of Derek Lively, Luka just has to go boop right up to the front of the rim. And Derek Lively's going to go up and he's going to dunk it in, right? It was a really smart setup. And again, talking about capitalizing on Darvin Ham's game plan, one of the things the Lakers were doing is they did not want Luka Doncic to take pull-up jump shots. Now, Luka's shooting his pull-up jump shot extremely well this year, right? But they were pressing up on Luka, and Luka's so big, and he's one of the best. When I'm talking to my young kids, as you guys know, I coach high school ball here in town, and I primarily work with skills development because I work so much at night. So I do these morning workouts with the kids where we do skills development. And when I'm talking about ball handling, I always point to Luka as the best example to follow because he's not flashy with the basketball in terms of like the way he dribbles. Like he's not doing giant sweeping crossovers and wild dribble combinations. It's really basic stuff. It's push crosses. It's between the legs dribbles. It's using spin moves. It's all real basic, but what he does is he sells things really well with his eyes. So like if he's planning on crossing over to the left, he'll have his full body positioned this way and the ball kind of in a push cross position like this. And as his whole body is facing the other way, he'll then cross over. And he's not doing anything dramatic with the basketball, but when he opens up like that, the defender opens up. And so then when he crosses over, he gets a tiny bit of an angle, and now he's using his size to beat you through that tiny little bit of an angle. It's the same thing with this between the legs dribble. He's going to set you up like he's going left, and then he's going to basically scissor cross through back to the right, and he does it in such an efficient way without having to move the ball very far, and he just buys those tiny angles and he shoots through those gaps. And then essentially when his triple threat situations there at the elbow, it's just a rip through basically. But they were pressing so far up on him to stop him from taking those pull-up jump shots that he was able to just rip right through. From there, he's either getting to those little short floaters that he can make at a high rate or making those skip passes out to the outside. there wasn't a soul on that team that could guard him. I think for this particular matchup, the Lakers really missed Jared Vanderbilt. I did think that and we'll talk about the Lakers in a little bit, but like without Jared Vanderbilt, there just wasn't a guy on the team other than maybe LeBron and Anthony Davis that could do a decent job guarding Luka. But even in the switches with AD, Ham had AD way up, taking away the jump shot, and Luka was just going right around AD. And when he go around AD, there's no help. There's no real athleticism on the weak side without Jared Vanderbilt out there. They were running D'Lo and Austin for a good chunk of this game too, and it's like there's just not enough athleticism on that weak side to rotate out of it, right? I thought Luka was unbelievable in this game. I know he took 28 shots, but again, like down Kyrie Irving, he needs to be more aggressive and take more bailout shots and things like that. I thought he was fantastic. A couple of other shout outs. They did a really good job, especially in the first half, of running off of Lakers turnovers and misses at the rim. Tim Hardaway got going in transition in this way, which I thought paid dividends down the line. And then Derek Lively had a clutch situation late in the game. He had a huge offensive rebound over Anthony Davis. That was a pivotal play in this game that led to a bucket. And then he had 3 blocks, bothered a lot of shots at the rim. And then he just does a basic thing that a lot of bigs struggle with, which is set good screens, roll hard to the rim. Like, roll hard every single time, because when the Lakers are bringing multiple defenders to the ball, you guys remember that ridiculous like Dwight Howard-esque lob that he had like way back here out from the top? Luka came off of the right wing into a ball screen. Lakers sent 2 to the ball. AD was out showing, and so the only way Luka could get the pass over was to take the ball way out wide and basically throw a hook pass, which again was just an absurdly difficult pass that Luka just put on the money because he's incredible. But the only way it was going to work is if Lively bailed out of the screen quickly and rolled hard to the rim and has the athleticism to get up that high, which he was able to do and to finish. I mean, as for a rookie, you could not be more happy with how Derek Lively's been playing this year. On the Lakers front, again, I understand the game plan. Where I disagree is the lack of the adjustment. So, for instance, like all the Laker fans are like, "Oh my gosh, Dante Exum was 28% from 3 this year. Why is he making all of these threes?" Now, you guys know how I feel about this kind of thing. Like, you can play the numbers with that kind of thing and ignore a shooter, but you need to identify when that shooter is now confident versus when he's not. So this can go both ways. So for instance, I talked about before the Pacers game, I was like, the Lakers are almost certainly going to ignore Miles Turner on his pick and pops until he makes a couple. He didn't make them. He went 1 for 5 or whatever. So it worked out okay. And there are versions of that where you ignore that guy and he misses a couple and then you can see he's in his head and then it's over, right? But there are also versions of that where it goes in. Like, I'm a much better shooter now than when I was in college. Like, I have a coach that I used to work with who would say you're either a shooter or a maker. And I've worked really hard in my lifetime to become a good shooter. When I was in college, I was a very streaky shooter. Like, I had a season where I shot 50% in conference play. And then I had like another season where I missed 22 threes in a row and like literally couldn't make a damn shot to save my life. I was super, super streaky. And like, what is it with a streaky shooter that makes them streaky? What it is like when they are confident, when they're feeling good, they get really good lift and they trust their mechanics and the shots go in, but then they can also spiral out of control. And when they start missing, they start tinkering with their mechanics and they don't trust their form, and then the bottom can fall out. But here's the thing. Back in college, if you just gave me a bunch of wide open looks, like eventually I could get hot. And then there were stretches where I'd get hot and make a bunch of threes. And then there'd be stretches where I'd miss them, right? I was one of those guys. I was one of those guys in college that like you'd probably, especially my last year in NAIA when I was playing so much off the ball, like you would concede the shot to me. You know what I mean? And like, I understand that from a game plan perspective. But the point is like at a certain point, you have to adjust to what's taking place. So for instance, Luka Doncic, he hit some tough pull-up jump shots in this game. Not a lot of them. And Dante Exum was feeling great, made 7 threes. Grant Williams was feeling great, made 5 threes. Tim Hardaway Jr. was feeling great, made 5 threes. So at what point do you look at the situation and go like, hey, Dante feels good right now. This is going in. Why don't we maybe try making Luka into a pull-up jump shooter by giving more space on these switch ISOs and baiting him into taking step-back jump shots? And then maybe if Luka makes 2 or 3 more in a row, then you can react at that point. And so that's my thing. Like, I understand the game plan. But at a certain point, you've got to adjust to the fact that Dante is a pro who's now on fire. You know what I mean? And for whatever it's worth, he was 42% last year in Europe on catch and shoot jump shots. The year before that, playing in Spain, 54% on catch and shoot jump shots. And he's been shooting well for the Australian national team. And this year now, after tonight, he's up to 41% on catch and shoot jumpers. And so, again, I don't think it's that surprising. Now, I'm not super irritated on the Lakers front because I had a feeling this kind of thing was going to happen, meaning you win the in-season tournament championship and then you play on Tuesday, and you're on the road against a team that's decimated by injuries. They're literally playing all these guys that are not usually in their rotation, and they just laid an egg, for lack of a better term. I thought it was their worst defensive effort in a couple of weeks, especially in that first half. And then the Lakers turned it up defensively in that second half. But this is another thing that I've seen a lot in my time playing the game, coaching the game, covering the game. When you let guys get comfortable early, they'll be confident late. So, for instance, there were a couple of those threes that Dante Exum made that were contested. Tim Hardaway Jr. made some contested shots. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dante Exum both made really nice right-handed scoop shots high off the glass that were heavily contested. A big part of that is early in the game, you weren't rotating, you weren't contesting threes. These guys were taking practice shots. And so now imagine you're Tim Hardaway Jr. and you've got the ball on the wing and it's dude, I've got 25 points tonight. I'm an NBA player with 25 points. You need me to create a bucket with 5 seconds on the shot clock? You bet your ass I'm going to. Tonight's my night. And that's how they feel when they drive to the rim and they make those shots, right? It's all part of that in my opinion, when people start talking about shot result, is there some luck involved? Yes. But I'll always preach that it's more process than luck. You will get better shots when you play better basketball than the other team. And then usually you will make more of them. The Lakers have they've been shooting the ball a lot better as of late. They've been, I want to say they were 13th in three-point percentage over their previous 15 games before tonight. A big part of that, in my opinion, was defending better and then playing with more force offensively, getting higher quality catch and shoot looks. I do tend to think these things are connected. And so I think it's lazy to come out of that game and be oh, the Mavs just made all their shots. They got us tonight. It's no, they played better basketball than you. and as a result of that, they were feeling better down the stretch and they made some of the tougher shots that you didn't make. Doesn't mean anything to me in the big picture as it pertains to the Lakers. I expect a lot of this. Laker fans, I've been saying this all season. If they're not going to bring consistent effort every night, they're going to be a team that wins, 46, 47 games. That's what they're going to be because the NBA is too deep. Before tonight, there were 19 NBA teams that were over 500. So at the end of the day, this team effort is going to be a huge indicator for their regular season success. But I'm always going to feel confident that they're going to be able to hit a two-way ceiling like they did in the in-season tournament. That's going to keep them in my championship contender tier. And quite frankly, when guys like Jared Vanderbilt are out, those are going to be the nights when you're going to see their defense suffer because the Lakers don't have a lot of natural motor guys, right? LeBron's not a natural motor guy. AD's not a natural motor guy. Austin Reeves is not a natural motor guy. Neither is D'Angelo Russell. Neither is Taurean Prince. It's pretty much Max Christie, Jackson Hayes, who fouls all the time, and Jared Vanderbilt. Even Rui Hachimura is not really a natural motor guy. They don't have a lot of guys that part of their basketball DNA is they play hard all the time. And so when their high motor guys are out, they're going to struggle. It's pretty much Cam Reddish plays hard, Jared Vanderbilt plays hard, Max Christie plays hard. And when those three guys are heavily involved in the rotation, you're going to see them have more, a higher baseline in their night-to-night effort. And when, I thought Jared Vanderbilt being out was a big factor in just the overall lethargy that they played with in this particular game.